broadcast, which is coming from my van, which is still parked in the same place. I've been in this place now for 3.5 months, but next week there will be a break in the weather. The weather will go up to 16 degrees. Currently forecast 16 degrees. And oh, sorry, I've got this on forecast. Voice coming up in two places. And therefore, what will happen is I think I might actually make a move, because it will go back to below zero again. But I remember 2 years ago, for example, I was in Netherlands, and there was one day in February, and I was out with my shirt sleeves on, and I didn't actually do any video then, but I did. No, I did. Sorry, I did. I did some World War II related video. I videoed the bridge at a place called Grave in the Netherlands. So so I was up there, shirt sleeves. But it got cold again, and then I spent nearly 2 weeks in Berlin, and it was a bit on the cold side. Hello, folding camper from Munich. And curiously enough, I was in Munich this time last year, and there was a fair there called Free, and that's an outdoor event, and I didn't do much whilst I was there. I also had hoped to stay a bit longer, but I got kicked out off the campsite pretty sharpish afterwards, so I wasn't able to even do what I meant to do in Munich. But I did try and cycle into the center from I mean, it was metro there. I could have just gotten the U-Bahn, but I tried to cycle into the center and get in like that. Anyway, so Folding says he wasn't, or she wasn't, a much of a fan of the event. The thing was, last year, because of the COVID situation, COVID had just begun, and as a result, I mean, lots of people didn't turn up, and there were still people, I mean, people still traveling around, and they were able to get to the event, you know, so people were coming from Italy, but I mean, the borders closed pretty soon afterwards, and certainly for me as well. I went off to film a place called Oman. Sorry, that's a company. They make a van. Sorry, this is a company called Buro Reisemobile Buro. They make a van called the Oman, which at the time had received 100,000 views, one video of it on my site. So it's a pickup truck. So I went and filmed there, and then I was going to go to Berlin, and the event I was going to actually got cancelled as a result. So welcome, Annie. Hello, thanks for being here. Particularly, Annie is in Texas, and there it is. Well, might be problems with electricity. And Fraser says, how are the lads? And maybe I could do a video in a Newcastle dialect once. And Banana Spittable, whom I haven't seen for a while, but hello, thanks for being here. Now, one idea I had actually was to do a news thing. I'll sort of tell you what I did during the week. I don't know if anybody's particularly interested in that. Now, I mean, most of what I did last week actually was history related. I will use several archives trying to chasing down information, but that'll all end up on my history site. And I find this because I'm quite fascinated by this anyway. But now this van life sort of gives me the opportunity to do this sort of thing that I really wanted to do for many years. And when I had a normal job and had to work like whatever it was, 50-60 hours a week, I just couldn't do these things. But now I'm sort of I can sort of do that more, because I don't have these horrendous overheads to pay and people's wages to pay and that type of thing. So that's something for the future. Now Fraser's asked me to do a Walsingham accent, but I can't actually do that. Now, Folding's asked if I have any opinions of Citroen versus Fiat. Now, I often get asked this question. Somebody even yesterday made a comment that they'd ordered a van. I can't quite recall exactly what it was, but instead of having the van delivered in, maybe it was June, and now it's going to get delivered sometime next year, 2022. And I understand reasons for that. I mean, there are problems. Oh, it was you. Okay, right, thank you. And so the question put to me, sorry, I'll say exactly, because I've just told a lie. The question here, it was ordered, delivery was for May, and now they're saying it's the between December, January. So it was, yeah, it was correct. And that's at the current status, and it could end up even being later than that. But if there could be a Citroen which turns up quicker. Do I have any comments to make? Well, actually, I don't. I can't say one way or the other. If somebody said to me, do you want a Fiat or a Citroen? I would say I want a Fiat. But the reason for this is that there's more Fiats on the market, and I think I don't know if I imagine that the service, there's more service points for Fiat. I imagine, I don't know, maybe it isn't. Just seems that way to me. That's the reason why. But inside, there's very little difference, I think, between the two. In any case, they're built in the same place anyway, in the same factory, and it's the same company that actually builds the things. So I don't think, from that point of view, that there would be a major difference between the two. I had a Citroen car, but that was ages ago. Is there any difference in crash safety? I don't know. I haven't heard of anything. I mean, if somebody else knows, so write it down in the comments, because this is the benefit of having something like this. If somebody actually knows the answer, I mean, I can try and find out, but asking me now, I really don't know, and I don't imagine that there is any difference between the two. You know, I know the bosses for the motorhome section in both companies, in both Citroen and in Fiat. And in fact, I've even got I've got videos of both of them on my site, and although I haven't seen them for some time. But Fiat had around 70% of the market. It might actually have changed. I haven't seen any statistics for 2020, but as far as 2019, it was still around 70%. At that time, Citroen, sorry, in 2017, I think it was, Citroen had 3%, 2018, 5%, something like that. And the aim of Citroen was to get around 15%. But bear in mind that motorhomes are only a tiny part of the overall market. So therefore, I don't really know what the state of affairs is, as things like reliability, or even for that other things are concerned. So I'm sorry, I can't give you a straightforward answer to that. But if it were me, for example, and I said this, if somebody said to me, do you want a Fiat or do you want a Citroen, I'd say I want a Fiat. But if somebody said to me, the question was this, and this is a better question, do you want a Fiat or a Citroen and plus 2,000 euros? Because as a general rule, the Citroen is at least 2,000 euros cheaper, at least, and in some cases it's 5,000. I mean, this, for example, here where I'm at the moment in Ozorków in Poland, where the Affinity campervan is manufactured, the Fiat Ducato is 5,000 euros more expensive than the Citroen. Sorry, the Peugeot, not Citroen, the Peugeot. And in some other vehicles, you can see that type of difference as well. I think it's death lifts. It's something along those lines. So when you sort of 5,000, I mean, that is quite a lot of money. I mean, it's a significant part. If the van itself is going to cost, say, for argument's sake, say 70,000 euros, 5,000, it's what, about 8%. So I mean, that really is significant. So if you say, well, you're going to pay less, and you're going to get it for next summer, potentially, then I would go for it. I would definitely take the Citroen. That's a very long-winded answer. It took me to get to the actual point. Now I've got another question here, which I'd misunderstood because I saw it come up on my telephone there, is will there be any regulations to improve crash safety? Now, if you can look on the internet in Sweden, on YouTube, I've forgotten the name of the channel, but there is some crash tests, and well, it's in Swedish, but it's pretty obvious. I don't speak Swedish, but it's pretty obvious what's going on. And the particularly with integrated vans, this is a bigger problem is with semi-integrated vans. As far as semi-integrated are concerned, and I do appreciate that most crashes are side crashes and not head-on ones, But if you have a head-on crash with a semi-integrated, it's just going to be the same as having a crash with a Peugeot or a Boxer or a Ducato or a Sprinter or whatever it is you're in. So now, but with the integrated, it is more dangerous. I am unaware of any plans for legislation on that effect, but I have to point out, though, that the regulations, certainly, for example, in Germany, which I'm most familiar with, is quite stringent on the oh, I've forgotten the word in English. Okay, on the paperwork to get the way the chairs are put in the seat belts and all that type of thing. And as a view of that, I mean, if you want to get the paperwork, homologization, to use a English word I sort of made up there. No, sorry, it is a proper word. It isn't. It might be in the dictionary. If you want to get this done for your car, it is quite difficult. I mean, it's not as if you can actually build it yourself. So if you build it yourself and you put the back seats in, then you have to take it around to a proper place to have them approve it for use by 4 people, or 3 people, or 5 people, or whatever it is. So that is that's something there worth considering. So unfortunately, I can't answer the question, but I suspect that there may be in the future some regulations, but that would come from within the European Union. That would come from within national governments. That would not be something which the European Union would decide. Looking at some other points that I've got here. So Peter's sitting in his Carmen Dexter 595 Fiat, 150 horsepower, 2017, on likes the live shows. Thank you very much, Peter. Now, Peter, so probably is double T, is Bergen's in Norway, and Peter's in a campervan. Carmen Dexter. No, sorry, it's a motor. Sorry, it is a campervan. What am I saying? It's a campervan. So he's sitting in the campervan there in this weather. But I mean, today, I know in the UK, I just ran with my mother, and she said it was a really lovely sunny day. Here it was 8 degrees. I didn't have the heating on in the van. I mean, it seems like roasting compared to what it was like before. And anyway, so I've got the website as being Jag Prata Svenska Tack. Which I don't know if that is the website for the, or that's some rude word in Swedish, I don't know. Right, so yeah, my friend from Brighton, who lives in Ireland, I believe, in Dublin, writes that yeah, you need to actually secure things. You certainly do need to secure things. Indeed, in many countries, if you had, for example, a car which was on leasing, you had to get leasing payments for business purposes. You had to have a protection behind your head, sort of a cage thing. I've forgotten the word. Another word I've forgotten. Krata in Polish. Anyway, sort of a mesh thing here to stop things sort of flying through. And I mean, I've had to do emergency stops. And I've got down here, often I go somewhere and I carry emergency water with me. 11, I've got 11 litre big bottle behind me. And that thing's come down at the gangway in my motorhome. Not just this one. I mean, I've had to do emergency stops in other vans as well, and that has happened. So another thing is actually even with your overhead lockers and things like that, you know, things can actually come flying out. Or I've heard of that. I mean, I've heard of that happening, even breaking the opening. Right, somebody says Julian Assange is looking better. Yeah, well, ever since I got out of that Ecuadorian embassy, it's been much better for me. And so Annie asks, does any conversion on a van have to be approved? The law is changing in various countries. In the United Kingdom last year, they made it more difficult to have a camper van, for it to be although it's still quite liberal in the UK. As far as Germany's concerned, the approval, that's a proper word I think now, comes from an examination. So you've got the organizations like TUV, for example, which will say, yeah, that's okay, that's safe to use. But for example, in the UK, you have to do diesel tests, and these diesel tests are done to see how good the engine is and how much pollutants it's sticking into the air. So okay, right. So, and Brighton asks if I shall be going to Moscow to check out the nightclub interiors. Have they changed since 1995? That's the dog, I think, was the last one, was in a nightclub. And in fact, I was in Moscow in '92 with a couple of friends of mine, and they sort of wanted to go to one. And so, yes, we went to several times. This same place, which I thought was awful and was full of cigarette smoke, and as I've got an allergy, I couldn't stand it. But anyway, that was that. In more recent visits to Moscow, I haven't been to such a place. I'm sort of not really interested in that any longer. I hoped to go to Moscow. I know I've mentioned this in the past, but I'd hoped to go to Moscow and to do a motorhome tour. Anyway, I'll have to see how this ends. I doubt it'll happen this year. Maybe I'll do it in the summer if I don't know. We'll see what happens anyway. How much does it cost to live in the motorhome full time? I've answered this in the past actually. The cost for living in a van is the cost as you've got. If you're going to live in a house, it's going to cost you the same as far as most things are concerned. So if you need to buy new clothes, new shoes, or food, then that costs exactly the same. The difference is in where you park your things. So if you're going to pay for your parking, and if you're going to be paying parking long term, they won't be charging you €20 a night or something like that. You could go up to a campsite and say, look, I'll tell you what, I'll give you €400 for the entire month. Take it or leave it, and I'm sure they'd take it. So there's that. Depends where you want to be. If you want to sort of wild camp, but bearing in mind that if you've got a normal job to go to, then you might find wild camping difficult. So if you have to work, for argument's sake, in the center of a city, and then, I mean, parking along one of the banks of the Seine, for example, in Paris, I suspect that you might get moved on or wheel clamped or whatever they do there rather quickly. And that's assuming you even find somewhere to park, which I very much doubt. I mean, there are places in London even you could park your van. I mean, that I'm certain, which are close to the underground. And then if you don't mind, 45 minutes to an hour to get into, for example, if you worked in the city of London, I'm assuming you're a big, highly paid banker or something, which you would be if you're living in a camper van, then there's that. So you've got the next thing is obviously electricity. Electricity costs more because on hookup, you'll normally pay something like a kilowatt. In Europe, you'd pay around 50 cents a kilowatt, and if you're buying using from home, you'll pay for a kilowatt between 15 to 20 cents a kilowatt. So electricity, if you're using it from there, it costs more, but of course you might be just taking it from the sun. So I've got my light up here, you can see that there's the light, and this goes on and off. That light there is free. I'm not paying for it. Well, sorry, I'm sort of paying for it, but that comes from the, I paid for the solar panels, and I paid for the battery, and I paid for all the rest of it. But the power itself now, I've prepaid for it, if you like, paid for all the equipment. The thing about technology that we have now is that we have this technology, for example, that allows me to speak to you now, and I'm not really paying a great deal for it. I have for internet use, my internet access, and I pay about €7 a month, something like that. And okay, in Poland, it's where I am now, it's cheap. I mean, even in Italy, I'd only be paying about €25. So it's the internet access is much easier, and it's much cheaper than it was. I mean, not so long ago. I mean, this wouldn't be possible to be able to actually work from a van. And because of these changes in technology, if you've got a job where you can work from home, you can almost certainly work from your van. and if you're somewhere else, then so much the better. Now the question was how much does it cost to live in a van, and I tried to say how much, but I probably haven't actually answered it to the satisfaction of the person who asked the question. Mi nombre es Mag asked. And so I would say on the whole it's possibly a bit cheaper than living in a house, because a house, if you're paying rent, yes, but I mean you have to park your van, so you're going to have to park it in a, probably going to have to, if you think long term, you probably want to be in a campsite or something like that. So anyway, there you have it. Sorry, bad answer. I ought to do another video on that one. It's sometime in the future and try and explore that one further. So Peter says that he uses his camper van for is his normal everyday car. Yes, I don't own a car. I have not owned a car now since 2012. I had 2 cars still then. I got rid of them both. I wasn't using them. I bought my first van in 2011. It was 10 years last month, and after that I just haven't used a car. In fact, I've hardly ever driven a car. I've had to I was with a woman whose car she didn't want to drive, and so I would drive it. And driven when I was in the United States, I had access to a car which I used, and occasionally for when I've done work for people and things like that, and if I had to use a car, no, I'll use it. I haven't. Last time I was in a car was a tiny Nissan, these horrible things. I never found the biting point on that now to get it, so I'm sort of I'm revving it hard, and that was when a friend of mine asked if I could take his wife to the hospital because he had to go to work, and so she needed a checkup, and there was some distance away, and so I took her down to the hospital, and in his car. So that was it. That was the last time I'd actually done it. Now Brighton mentions that it would be great to drive to Moscow, and indeed I drove to Moscow from London in 1992, and that really was then at the time it was really quite outstanding, wonderful, exciting journey, and empty roads, completely empty roads, and the difference, you got to the German-Polish border, and okay, there's quite a lot of traffic on the Polish side, but then once you cross the border into Belarus, the thing was this was really long wait at the Polish-Belarusian border, and then but there was a motorway, and it was a good motorway as well. It was wide open. There was nobody on it. But the other side of Minsk, then suddenly we were one stage we were on this like country track, and I couldn't believe that this was the way to Moscow. And I remember asking, there was a lady there, and a couple of older people, and they asked them, "Is this the way to Moscow?" Which people on a horse and cart. And yes, that's the way to Moscow, and but it didn't seem that way. Anyway, now I understand the motorway has been extended as far as Smolensk, and indeed I believe there is now a fast road between Smolensk and Moscow. Mind you, it was pretty good when I was there as well, because it was quite wide. It wasn't a motorway as such, because there wasn't a central reservation, but it was a really wide road. It was really super wide. And yeah, I mean, I had this idea I could go and I wanted to drive down the Volga. That was my plan. Anyway, I was asked to do something for there to actually do a tour around the Golden Ring. And so they've got these monasteries, fortresses, which are the Golden Ring, sort of around Moscow, and there's a number of places such as Vladimir, Suzdal, and others, and so to do that and to do a film of that. Also, I think I find it quite curious to do a trip between Moscow and Petersburg as well. So there's a number of things, but what I wanted to do was to do a trip in winter, because I thought, oh, that's hardcore winter camping. And anyway, so maybe we'll do, maybe won't. And Christian says hello Christian, and hello Marianne. Now my idea for what I thought I'd do today Okay, just a minute. Marianne asked me, what do I think of converting a van after buying Heimer? Cost is nearly the same now. And yes, that is a really good question. On one of the forums, I tend not to answer things on internet fora, but I did yesterday. Somebody asked this question, and I said, well, yeah, it's quite honest. I think you're better off just buying it, because if you try building it yourself, I wanted to build it, and maybe I just didn't understand. And unless you really know what you're doing, the chances are you're going to do something wrong, which is really, I mean, there's some basic things about which if you buy a van off the shelf, a used one, then it's you can check it out, see if it's all right, and spend get a habitation check done or something like, even spend a couple of €100 on getting someone to check it out for you. Then yeah, that's okay. But I mean, if you actually convert it, you've got this problem with the approval, which I meant first of all, which so that's gonna cover your habitation check, and not only that, there are things such as I give one example, insulation thing. You can maybe have to do the insulation properly, or I accept the fact if you build it, or you get somebody who knows how to do it to build it for you. Oh yeah, if you get a professional to do it, that's different. Yeah, if you get someone who knows what they're doing, yes. But I think when people come up with funny layouts that they want, people write comments on videos that I do, and they want a particular layout, which in some cases doesn't make much sense, or there's no point in a mainline builder doing it, because nobody's going to want to buy it. But if you've got some really unusual request, then in that case, get someone to build it for you. But the cost will be it'll be more. I mean, it's not quite the same as if you get a suit, you go to a shop and buy a suit, or you get one made to measure. I mean, all the suits that I've got, I've had them made to measure for me. I've never actually, sorry, I haven't had a suit from a shop now for, I don't know, 20 years or something. But then again, I hardly ever wear them. So I mean, I can get, but with a motorhome, it's not going to be the sort of the difference in cost like that. You probably got 4 times more for a made-to-measure suit, but it is going to cost more, and it's clear, because I mean, if you're knocking something out on a conveyor belt, that's not quite that with motorhomes. You may have seen some of the videos I've done, but if they're knocking something out regularly, which is always the same, then they then you say that you want a I don't know, something a bit odd, then it's going to take more time to build. I was at somebody's a manufacturing plant last year, and they do the same thing all the time. But somebody asked them, decided, no, I want to have a conversion on a Fiat Ducato, I think it was, and I want this layout. And he said it was taking them ages to do it, because of it, for this reason. So I really think get a used van. That's the only sensible way of doing it. And anyway, Petter says that 9 out of 10 new sold cars in Norway are now electric, but luckily now electric camper vans, the road tax for diesel and petrol cars is 5 times higher. Yeah. This is one actually I thought I'd do a speech today, and I've actually prepared it. But anyway, I shall just mention the point that the Nissan has said that it will build an electric campervan. Now it's based on the NV, the E2000. I mean, it's not a very big thing. It's about, I think it's even 5 meters long. Now somebody did one, and I had it on my website, which is currently down. But on my website, I had pictures and a description of it. I don't think I ever did a video of it. And but this wasn't really a proper camper van. It was just like a car with a bed in it. And lots of people do sort of. I mentioned, for example, I did a video of the Mercedes EVQ or EQV or whatever it's called, and yeah, because that is like the Vito, and that could be converted to being a camper van as such. Now, what Nissan is saying that, well, they'll stick a tent in the roof, and I hope they do a little bit more than that, like for example put some insulation in the thing. But I mean, okay, if there's a tent in the roof, I suppose it now qualifies as a camper van. It is, but I believe very strongly that we will see more electrical vehicles. Now, there was one company at 2 years ago at Stuttgart. They had a press conference to say they were launching the electric camper van, but this was from a company which hitherto had done only cheap cars. You know, cheap camper vans. Sorry, not cars. Cheap camper vans. They call themselves the outlet center, the Wohnmobil outlet or something like that. And the thing is this: this is a bit like building one of these Superheimer a Superheimer van on the basis of a Trabant or something like that. Well, maybe I'm exaggerating a bit, but this is the general idea: is that the van, they were mixing two things. They were going for the top end thing. Oh dear, my computer's just gone off. I don't know why. What's happened here? I can't. Anyway, never mind. The computer's gone off for some reason, and is the thing still on? Oh no, I don't know why it went off. Sorry, it just went off normally, so I can't read the messages. And another problem I've got is that my internet also actually goes off. And Zalogui. Oh dear, would you Adam and Eve? It's gone off. Oh, I haven't even got the internet. So anyway, I'll have to try and remember the comments. So in fact, there was a number of comments there which I hadn't actually got to. Anyway, sorry. So hello, Anya says, Swedish Craster, I'd really like to renovate an old Heimer. Yes, now that does make sense, the renovation of an old Heimer. Then, you know, you should do this motorhome rebuild, the sort of thing I did 4 years ago with this thing I'm in at present. So I got this in the UK, and the people who owned it before hadn't used, an older gentleman, he'd used it to go fishing in. It had this horrible television in it, and I mean, even they put the habitation battery was up front where the engine is, and the engine battery was inside here. And anyway, so that it wasn't really very good. Now, but the thing is, if you got an older van and redid it up, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, in my opinion. But then again, you need to check for things like, for example, water ingress. I mean, now I know you can get these. I mean, even at Lidl has one for about 25 euros or something. You can check if there's been any water ingress in it. But again, on buying a motorhome RV, then you should always, in my opinion, get it checked out by a professional. So anyway, my computer going off then, it sort of ruined my prepared speech, but never mind, I'll keep it back for next time, because I wanted to say something about camping regulations which have changed. And for example, Exmouth, which is in Devon in the UK, very attractive place, and it banned it banned all motorhomes from but then it built this. There was this car park. Let them go in the car park, and people could pay £11 a day there. And then the council put it up to £30, and they're saying what a great bargain it is to park yourself this car park for £30 a day. That was one thing. Benidorm in Spain, or in the area of Benidorm, they've done the same as they've done in Portugal and banned it. Anyway, we'll talk about that next week, this banning in Portugal. And there was a couple of places in the UK. East Lothian council had a rather liberal policy towards motorhomes, which I quite like. Anyway, I'll tell you all about that next week if I remember to do it, and because I've been rabbiting on now for 34 minutes. And anyway, I'm glad to see that the electricity is back in Texas. So there's something. And if there's anything from this situation which has been in the United States now, in Texas, I would have to say that this is that you prepare for winter. And what's quite clear that despite some of, as I understand the situation, the problem there has been that people were not prepared for winter, or rather the electricity authorities, the electricity company wasn't prepared. And it seems pretty daft to me, because I think we can all remember not long ago there was the films doing viral of the bus in Dallas or something, and cars couldn't get grip on the road because of the ice, and it was only about 4 or 5 years ago. So okay, I appreciate that this year, I mean, it's even on the coast, on the places like Galveston and others where they even, maybe the beach is frozen, maybe the sea isn't frozen, but as we have here. So the answer here, though, it's a problem of not being prepared for the winter, and therefore, yeah, the electricity company didn't want to pay to prepare the lines for what could potentially happen. So and there is a moral here, which happens in the motorhome world as well. So you prepare in one of two ways. I mean, maybe I'm being a bit hypocritical on my part, because I wanted to go to Italy and I ended up getting caught here. But I've been nice and warm inside. So if you want to go camping in the winter, then you prepare by having proper insulation. And if you are an electricity company and there is a risk of cold weather, then I would suggest that you've got proper insulation on your equipment. I would suppose. I think that makes sense. Anyway, so Annie says, okay, in Texas the stores have been wiped clean of food supplies. And I mean, yeah, okay, this happened at the beginning of the pandemic here as well. I mean, people sort of went berserk buying everything that they could buy, and maybe I should have joined them, really, but I didn't think there was ever that much of a danger, so I just continued as I've always done. But I mean, I did consider, though, that if I got myself in a situation that I left here this year and sort of made my way to Italy, just in case they didn't let me out, I got forced to be in quarantine. At least I could get maybe I was thinking, if I got myself 10 kilos worth of beans, I'd have enough food to last me. How much will that last me now? Easily last me a month. So anyway, there we have it. My vehicle has the steering wheel on the left. I do not drive with the steering wheel on the right. I find it rather difficult. I find what's particularly difficult is getting your brain in order to change the gears with your left hand. I think it makes more sense to drive with your strongest hand, that is your right hand, in 90% of cases, including my own, and change gear with your left hand. However, I am absolutely used to holding the steering wheel with this hand and changing gear with this hand, and as a result, I don't like driving on the left-hand side for that reason. So I have a left-hand drive motorhome. This thing here, I mean, it present. Anyway, I see it's gone dark now, but at least it's light until it was a lovely sunny day here in Poland. Right, so well, I'd like to thank everybody for being here, and there will be a video this evening at the usual time, and this evening's video is about a motorhome which can sleep 8. And if memory serves me correctly, it is a van from Foster, the part of the Trigano group, built, I think, in Italy, and although it might be built in Germany, I'm not certain where they build the Foster. I know they build the vans in Abruzzo somewhere, but I think I'm not certain where they are. Actually, the motorhomes are built. So thank you very much for mentioning. It was nice to see me. Thank you for being here, and so they've got that one. They've got that for tonight. I've also, if I may mention it, I've also got a history site which is called History on YouTube, and that's what I'm going to start publish on that. There's going to be it's going to be one video a week, which appears on a Friday, and there'll be about 50 sorry, not 50, it'll be more than that. It'll be up 70 in a year, because in December I'll probably do more, as I did here. And anyway, thanks all everybody for being here. Thank you very much, and see you next week. Bye. You have a nice evening too, Peter. Thank you. Bye.